cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
Oh, great. Thanks, Mother, for replacing the baby aspirin with LSD.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountain?
All right, welcome in back to this View from C-Deck. It's been a while, boys and girls. we took a little hiatus during the off season. Casey and I have kids and things and life, but we're back and we're ready to launch hard into this season. This is the get pumped up. Football is in the air. You start to smell it. You know, it's cool here in Columbus. We just had a fall type day, a nice cool morning, warm afternoon, warm and dry weather. Perfect. Let's get it going, baby.
Seville North Band playing for my front yard earlier.
Oh yeah.
It feels.
We were just talking about what high school games we're going to go to this year, which the talent level in Central Ohio is not where it was, but neither here nor there, because we're here to talk about Buckeye football, baby, as well as the whole college landscape. But how you been this offseason, Casey? The Dyerwolf, sorry.
Been doing good, just raising the two youngins, driving me a little nuts, working on my patio, keeping me busy.
Yeah. It's got to get that done before we have to start putting those Saturdays aside. And now Fridays and Sundays and Tuesdays, Maction, we got it all coming.
Done before September 2nd.
Yes, definitely. Now you gotta be ready for week 0, man.
Yeah, well,
Notre Dame and Navy.
whose game day? Isn't it South Carolina, North Carolina? Or is that week 1?
Oh, well, that's week 1. Week 1 is trash schedule. We'll talk about that in a bit. But as always, this is a Buckeye podcast, so we got to talk about our Buckeyes coming into the season. This is more of a state of the program type look we're going to take real quick here, because it's still too early to break down the whole team, especially before practice even starts officially, and before we know who's going to be under center and manning left tackle. Interesting questions, although maybe not too interesting. But where do you think we are right now? How comfortable are you with this program? When we left off, we just had that tough loss to Georgia. And I remember you saying, I remember because I just listened back to some of our stuff, that you were not sure about the defense getting fixed and that could be the tough part of this year. And I was predicting, maybe up to 3 losses. Anything that's happened this offseason changing your mind so far?
So I would say not necessarily for this coming year, but the fact that we're still getting these 2024 recruits means that even though the season didn't end well, it's still not affecting recruits in their minds. So that's definitely a plus. Getting Aaron Scott yesterday was big. I wasn't completely shocked, but a little worried. He had me guessing.
Yeah.
that would have been a really bad look if he went to scum. But all in all, I mean, anytime you lose to them back-to-back seasons, it got you on edge a little bit, because if it's 3 in a row, then it becomes glaring.
Yeah.
But I guess glass half full, the way that Georgia game went, we're obviously good enough to beat anybody, really. And then Knowles, if you look back at his tenure with all of his other schools, the second year he usually makes a pretty big jump, and he's never had the talent that he has here. So that's what, if he doesn't make vast improvements this year, I think I'm going to be very concerned.
Oh, the Fire Fickle fans will be right back if he doesn't make that, and then fire Combs. Yeah, I like the portal additions we got on defense. I like a lot, especially the kid from Ole Miss. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name right now. We'll get that in the preseason podcast.
Is that the guy that it ends in OSU?
Yes, it does end in OSU.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Dub. That's a dub. But yeah, his addition, the defense, I said then, right after the season ended, that I thought he could turn it around because of what you said, that he's made vast improvements year 1 to year 2, then year 2 to year 3. I mean, I'd say we're on the accelerated path. We should be on like the year 2 to year 3 type of improvements this offseason. The secondary, I said I didn't think our secondary was talented enough. We bring in the additions, and it sounds like Sonny Styles has broken through and has basically forced his way onto the field at this point, which that's the kind of athletic freak we need out there to be able to make plays against these high-powered offenses. You need guys that are play busters, that are going to make huge plays, huge hits, cause fumbles, force turnovers, because that's the way you can't stop teams anymore, not good teams. Like, you're not going to stop them in their tracks. And like I said, last year, 4 best offenses we played against all had over 450 yards of total offense, all had over 30 points. So we hadn't fixed anything, really, not against the good teams. But you could see that there was actual improvement. It's all going to come down to this. I think if that secondary can show the improvement that we think it's going to have, defense should be fine. Offensively, though, I said at this type of podcast we did last year, at the beginning of the season, I said, not now, when, because we're going to lose these offensive tackles and we haven't recruited a line good enough. And it does not sound like that's been fixed yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a concern for sure. But just looking back, I mean, when is the last, there's probably been several times where we've lost major offensive linemen, and you're thinking, how are we going to replenish this? And I don't remember the last time we had an offensive line that was a liability. They've never been even average. They've always been above average. There's years that we've been elite, and this most likely won't be one of those, but I think they'll surprise us. I mean, that's definitely the biggest question. I'm not concerned about the quarterback, honestly, whatsoever, because he has the best weapons in the entire country to go to, and plus that connection between McCord and Marvin. I'm assuming it's going to be McCord. Will be big, but you're right. The offensive line, mainly tackle, is probably my biggest concern, even more so than the defense.
Easily my biggest concern. Defense, I think they have a high floor. We'll see if they can reach the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
The offense, if we can't block and we have an immobile quarterback, yeah, you're right. McCord's going to be the quarter. I mean, from everybody I've talked, I do have a source that was actually on the staff last year. I'll try to get him on here one time, at least. He was very confident that it'll be McCord. He said he's just better. And then I asked him also, though, I was like, is McCord good or is he just better than Brown? He's like, he's good, but he's not what we've seen before. He's not going to be on the Haskins, Fields, Stroud level. But he'll be good enough. And I think I agree with you. But if we can't block and he is immobile, good teams like Penn State and Michigan, who have good defensive lines, especially pass rushing for Penn State, and just total scheme for Michigan that's given us trouble the last 2 years with C.J. Stroud, who's just the number 2 pick in the draft. Could definitely give us a lot of trouble if we can't block.
Yeah. The good thing is, I mean, other than Notre Dame, our biggest challenges are at the end of the year, so it'll give the line time to grow. But
Indiana's not a challenge week 1 there, Casey? You ever look in the
I mean, it
this
is
isn't the year.
but I just, Day's going to come out pissed off. Although most of the time in season openers, we've
been slow. It's been slow. Yeah, we come out slow.
Yeah.
With the exception of the first quarter against Florida Atlantic, but that was the best team Day's had.
Yeah.
So speaking of Day, well, first we'll hit on the recruiting, since we're talking about the health of the program in general. It has picked up, I think, this year. Is looking good, although I'm not convinced that Justin Scott will be in the class at the end of the time. We just had the decommit from the 2025 kid who just clearly, this is a big new game from Southern recruits, I think, or big-time recruits. Say you're going to Ohio State, then see what the offers, see what the NIL gets bumped up to if you tell them that.
Yeah. You're right about Justin Scott. That one was out of left field, so I'm not going to be shocked if he leaves, but hopeful he'll stay.
Right. It's felt like that. Like last year, though, with the D linemen, we were being told all throughout the cycle that we were getting all these 5 stars and these top 4 or 5 linemen were all going to come here, and we got none of them in the end. And we got, we made a flip at the end to get the kid from that was committed to LSU. But this year we have to hit on these guys. We have to. And if we do, we're going to end up with a top class, a 1 or 2. It's going to be us or Georgia.
Yeah, there's a couple that are it seems like from multiple sources are almost guaranteed.
Right. The Houston kid that's coming next, that would be the big one.
Yeah.
If we get him, kind of anything else that happens is kind of gravy, I think. But
If we get him, it's going to be neck and neck with us in Georgia because Georgia already has 26 commitments. So how many
Right.
more add? I mean,
SEC, baby.
yeah, I get it. Back in our best classes ever, and it was like 17 was, I don't know if it's statistically the best or not, but it's really close if it's not. And we had like 6 less recruits than Alabama and barely lost to them.
That's been our lot in life since Tressel was here, it feels like, where we just have these smaller classes so we can never actually win the recruiting title because we're, 2 or 3 guys lighter than the team that beats us.
Yeah, our average is like significantly better than theirs, though.
Yeah, I will say for the health of our program, our NIL seems to have been figured out. Like we're at least, I think we paid Simmons to come here after we whiffed on all the tackle prospects, tackle transfer portal guys in the first portal window. I think we busted out the checkbook. We're going to have to get these guys just the way it is, even though I think Day doesn't want to pay guys that haven't earned it yet. It's just, you're just not going to get them if you don't.
You should want to be here. You should earn it. You shouldn't. I think that's how Nick Saban, at least that's what he says. Like we shouldn't have to pay you to come here, but
I think that's what he says until he's talking to his boosters, and then he tells his boosters, "I need some money." That's what he said after Jimbo brought in that class 2 years ago.
yeah. Look how that worked out for Jimbo, though.
Oh, it's been glorious. It's been glorious. So that'll bring us to Day, though, in general. So at the end of last year, we got people calling for Day's head after the second loss to Michigan. And then the tide switches back a little bit. And even like, me and Jason more so than myself, because you realize the guy's 45-6. You can't fire him after a 2-loss season where you lost to 2 playoff teams and that's it. And what's crazy about Day is he's 45-6. And he's only 1-5 against playoff teams, though, but he's only lost 6 games. And the other loss was to an Oregon team that was in the playoff hunt until like the last week of the season that year. So he doesn't have a bad loss at all.
You would hope to be around 500 to playoff teams.
Right. But even then, I was thinking about this. I was like, all right, Urban Meyer went 2-0 to start out against the playoff teams. Then the rest of his time at Ohio State, he went 0-3 against teams that made the playoffs, including losing in the playoffs to Clemson the only time we made the playoffs that year. Lost to Michigan State in 2015, and who was the other? Oh, and lost to Oklahoma in 2017.
Or did you say Clemson 16? Obviously.
Yeah. So 15, 16, 17, we go 0-1 against playoff teams of those 3 years. Don't play any in 2018. And then Urban's gone.
He almost blew his last game, too, because I freaking bet on that thing.
Oh, I remember you betting on that thing and celebrating already when we're up 28-3, and then they let them storm back.
28-3, the spread was -5.5, I think, and they won.
I think it was 5 even, because remember they almost returned the 2-point conversion for for the 2 points for us that would have got you the push. You always remember those.
I think it would have actually won me the bet. What did we win by? 5? I think it was 5.
Oh, you're right. 28-23. Yeah, we won 28-23, so it was 5.5. You're right.
Yeah.
So the 2 would have got you the dub.
Yeah.
We ran out of steam, though. Whoever was running, I can't remember who it was, a linebacker, I think.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'll say this. I get it. It's warranted. We hadn't lost at home to Michigan since, was it 2000?
Yeah.
Since 2000. People are dumb in general when it comes to just hot takes and firing coaches, but I understood that one at least, right? Like he's won a lot of games, but what has he really won?
No, I mean, right.
So,
2 Big Ten championships, but now it's in the past, like 2 straight years no Big Ten.
I mean, the biggest accomplishment is he did go to a national championship. I mean, how many coaches can say that, right?
But that was a COVID year, so it was weird.
It was, but yeah, I mean, that's not his fault, but you're right. So this year, I don't think he's on the hot seat whatsoever. But if I mean, I think it's pretty simple. If we lose to Michigan again, we could go 11-1, lose to Michigan, win the Rose Bowl. I don't know if the Rose Bowl is a playoff game or not this year, but win our bowl game. The next year, he's on the hot seat. I think if you lose to Michigan,
It would be interesting. I mean, I still don't. I think 10-2 is like kind of the likely outcome for us this year, but we'll get into that different time. And I'm like, what would actually put him on the hot seat after this year? Because I don't know if just not to us, to the fan base, that the rabid people like us, yeah, lose to Michigan, doesn't matter what you do the rest of the year, you're on the hot seat this year.
Gene Smith, you mean?
But if you're Gene Smith, who does not, I mean, again, if you fire guys that lose one game a year, it's going to be hard to get somebody in here.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I mean, basketball is obviously not the same as football, but if you look at Holtman, I mean, he should have been on the hot seat, and he gets an extension.
Should have been. I think he should have been fired after this year. I do.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just can't fathom. I don't even want to think about losing to them a third time. But the thing is, once it gets to 2024, we just got to get through one more season, and you can basically just pencil us into the playoffs, right? I mean,
right. Oh yeah. Once we make 12 teams, yeah. But then then we'll move the goalpost though. You're gonna have to start winning at least one playoff game a year.
Yeah.
As whoever coaches.
Making the playoffs is not. It won't be a goal. Making the playoffs is going to be the goal of like Michigan State or Penn State or Auburn or higher of the middle tier teams. It's not
Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's not goals for Alabama or
Indiana, Bowling Green.
I would. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, here's where I think though, especially myself as someone who remembers the '90s, and you do a little bit, but the Cooper years is like when we say we want him out, and it's kind of it's a risky thing though. It's like we want to maintain the last 20 years the dominance in the rivalry, but also the dominance in general we've had over the Big Ten is what we'll maintain. And it feels like if you let them start beating us like they are, that you're going to lose that edge, and you're not going to be able to maintain that anymore. And then you start becoming Wisconsin, where you start hoping to be a good team every 4 years and that's your crack at the shot at the title, and not every other year like us or every year right now. And I don't want to slip to that. I mean, because I know it's possible for us not to. I know we don't have to slip to that. But also reasonably, logically, you can't do that forever, most likely. And it's easy to do what like Nebraska did with Frank Solich, and you get not settling for 9-3 anymore, and all of a sudden they've been in purgatory since they fired him. And he was like a lot like they goes to the national championship like his first or second year, inheriting Tom Osborne's kids and everything. And then he starts being successful, but not what they want. And then you fire him, and all of a sudden you're just up shit's creek for a while.
Yeah, people that like millennials don't even. I guess technically I'm a millennial, but kids that are in their 20s or younger don't even know that Nebraska was a powerhouse.
Right. And they were so good, especially when I was a kid. So
yeah, they were like Miami.
Oh yeah. That '95 team is maybe the best team I've ever seen. They were freaks. So yeah, but it's just dangerous for us to go down the fire Ryan Day path like this. What if he goes 9-3 this year, which is I think in play.
It's possible because our schedule's freaking brutal. Like our road schedule has to be one of the hardest in the whole country.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm when I say he's going to be on the hot seat if we lose to Michigan next year, I'm not saying I think he should be fired, because I don't. Because of what you said, his whole record and everything. And then it's just funny. It's just a what have you done for me lately type of world. I get it. But Harbaugh is 2-5 against us, right? And he's like God. And Day is 1-2.
Yeah.
And it's like.
But expectations. They hadn't beat us in forever.
Yeah.
Now they have. Yeah. We've been owning them. Now we're not.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't want to say they were due, but it's like eventually you're not going to win 20 games in a row, right? and they've been recruiting pretty well recently. And they don't get a whole lot of 5-stars, but they've
No.
even back to 17. I was looking. It seems like they always have a top 10 class. So
Yeah, they should be. They're a blue blood.
They are, but I just haven't respected them in the past 20 years because of what we've done to them. So I know I haven't really considered them a big dog, and I guess I'm learning why I should still consider them a big dog.
Yeah. Well, we'll transition this big dog talk. I'll say Day not on the hot seat unless he loses to Michigan and loses another game. At least he's gonna have to at least lose 2 to be in a hot seat in Gene Smith's mind. But there's almost no way he gets fired after this year unless he goes like 7-5. Then he's gone. But I don't think that'll happen. I think we're too talented to lose every coin flip type game.
Yeah.
But moving on, because you did say they're monsters. Quick look at some Big Ten futures, some other bets, see what you like. The Big Ten futures, we're almost co-favorites. We actually are the favorite right now, Vegas-wise. Barely. Slightly. Like the plus 005. Plus 165 to like plus 170. Depends on where you look. But plus 160 to plus 165 over Michigan. Penn State, they're at plus 600, most books. If I'm a gambling man, I'm gambling that they actually are good because they finally got rid of these little quarterbacks who are kind of good runners, but not against good teams because they're not athletic enough. Kind of good passers, but not against good teams, but they don't have strong enough arms to beat elite defenses. And they're on to the Drew Aller experience, which he's built different than these guys. I hate that saying, but he is built different than Sean Clifford and Trace McSorley and what they've had before. And they are stacked everywhere else. So coming in with a new quarterback, plus 600, do you think, they have us on the road, but they got Michigan at home.
Yeah. Those aren't bad odds. I don't think I'd bet on either one of them. I'm obviously not going to bet on Michigan, but those are great odds for us. So I don't think I'd bet on us. But yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about it, they'd almost have to beat both of us unless it came down to a 3-way tie, right?
Right. But it could be.
It could be a 3-way tie, but then I don't know why would they get the nod over us and Michigan? It comes down to they changed it, I swear. Does it come down to your interdivision or your other division record?
Right.
The West, what we do in the West?
Yeah.
Or no, the opponent's overall record in the West.
Right. It's the strength of schedule of the other division.
So, but we have Wisconsin and Purdue
and Minnesota.
So
yeah,
that could
Michigan also plays Minnesota. Penn State also plays Iowa. So there are some crossover games there. Who's got Penn State also got now? Penn State's schedule just works out real nice too, because they actually play a reasonably tough first 4 weeks. West Virginia at home, Delaware easy, then at Illinois, home against Iowa. Then it sets up nice for us. They got Northwestern. That's going to kill them on that cross division thing.
What's Wisconsin's odds? Are they?
I'm sorry.
What's Wisconsin's odds? Are they the 4th favorite?
Yes, they're 4th favorite. They're plus 750, I believe.
I think I'd rather go for that than Penn State, just because of the strength of the East.
Yeah, but Wisconsin's got some tough cross division. Well, so does Iowa, though.
They do. I like Fickle.
I do too. But here's Penn State's schedule leading up to us, Casey. So after they play Iowa, September 23rd, at Northwestern, September 30th, layup with what's going on in that program.
Mm-hmm.
Bye week, UMass at home, layup, then us. So they basically got a month to prepare for us before they come in here.
But it's here, right?
Yeah, it's here.
Oh God, I couldn't stomach that. Michigan would obviously be worse, but no, they'd be 3rd on my list if I don't want to lose.
And then they got Michigan at home. Michigan's got a tough little slate to end the season. And then they go Penn State, Maryland, us, last 3 games.
I wouldn't be shocked if Michigan, they got such big heads, they're preparing for Georgia and their freaking practices. Like, what the hell are you doing? Try beating TCU first. But I could see them overlooking some teams, but their schedule's a joke. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of Georgia, we'll move on to the overall national championship odds real quick here. Georgia heavy favorites, mainly because of their schedule, I think, is where I think the favoritism comes in. Because they're replacing a lot on offense and defense, and they've finally, I think the entire defense got drafted off the 2020 team now. Entire starting defense. It's insanity. And like half of them were first-round picks. Maybe more. But they're around plus 230-ish, plus 225 on most of these books. Then Bama is your next betting favorite, which I don't understand, to be honest. I think it's just the Bama brand at plus 600. Then we're third and Michigan fourth, and we have significantly less value than they do, I think, plus 700 against plus 850. LSU at plus 1,200 is the one that interests me, though.
LSU plus 12?
Yeah, plus 12.
What's Tennessee?
What was that?
Tennessee?
Tennessee is down plus. You can get them at plus 3,500 on one of the sites on BetMGM.
That'd be a good long dark horse, long shot.
I don't think they fixed their defense enough to be a legit contender.
I don't know.
And they have that problem. They play both Bama and Georgia's, and then whoever wins the West. Yeah. Like, likelihood of them getting through all that gauntlet with just one loss, and they're in. But I don't think they can do it.
One loss, they're in. Hell, a 2-loss SEC champ would get in, I think.
Not with 4 teams, I don't think.
They could. I think it could have happened this year if.
This year's gonna be tough because.
Last year, Bama they could have made the SEC championship with 2 losses if the cards fell the right way.
Right.
And then if they beat Georgia.
LSU's also got Florida State early, which should be both top 10. Rematch of last year, that was a good game. I think LSU, with their schedule.
Top 10. I know.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, if I had to throw down some money now, I'd throw a little coin on LSU. I like Jane Daniels is a beast. They were the blueprint for us against Georgia. I think how they performed in the SEC title game, even though they got blown out in the end, they at least made it interesting and threw for 500 yards against them. Brian Kelly does figure out ways how to win. They beat Bama. They do have to go to Bama this year. That's tough, which that could decide who comes out of the West either way and plays Georgia.
So it went Georgia, Bama, us, Michigan. Is USC 5th?
LSU's 5th, then USC.
What's USC's odds?
Plus 1,600.
Well, their schedule's got to be significantly easier than LSU.
It is, but the well, I don't know. The Pac-12 is loaded at quarterback, especially. Utah's got their quarterback back. Bo Nix is back at Oregon, and Penix is back at Washington. They were one of the best. They have like 2 first-round picks at wide receiver as well, just like us.
They all play each other, right?
Yeah. So, and then they play. It's best versus best in their title game. What?
They'll have to play whoever's the best team twice.
Right. Just like last year, and they lost to Utah twice last year.
Yeah. That would be. I think I'd rather pick them over LSU. I don't think either one of them will, just because LSU, to win it all, they're going to have to beat Bama and Georgia.
Right. Yeah, other than that, Florida State at plus 250. What about your favorite bet last year? Are you going to bet them again? Texas Longhorns? Quinn Ewers at Bama early in the year.
I think they could take down Bama early, man. I really do. They had them beat last year. Ewers got hurt. Some bullshit penalties or no calls. I can't remember exactly what happened now, but
yeah,
they got screwed a little bit there.
Oh, they did for sure. This is why I was hearing some of our local hosts talk about Bama and just talk about how their losses were so close. I'm like, well, they had a couple of wins like that too. Don't forget.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
they ended up with the appropriate record last year. That's why I don't. They have quarterback issues for sure. So they're bringing in freaking Tyler Bucknell or Buckner to come in there. Their offensive line hasn't been good for years. I don't see Tommy Reese really affecting that. He can affect the play calling, but not the O-line play.
Yeah.
Their receivers are below par. They have been for a while. I mean, for a team that wants to contend for a title. And defense just doesn't win championships anymore the way it used to, unless you have like Georgia's 2020 defense.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I'd be curious what that spread will be. Is that week 2? Do you know?
yeah, it's week 2.
And where is it?
It's at Bama.
It's at Bama.
I'll say
So-
Bama minus 10,
They'll probably be, yeah.
at least, maybe more.
I'd say probably. I was gonna say less than that. I was gonna say like 8.5.
See if I can find an early line. Real quick before we get off of here.
I'm saying 8.5. Might be hard to find.
Action Network.
You can't really find
7.5.
7.5. But I still don't know what I would bet on that. I'd probably bet Texas.
That's giving a lot of respect to Texas. I think people are gonna. I think that line will go up. I think people will slam Bama.
Probably.
Actually, it's already getting. No, move towards. It opened at 7.5. It's 7 now.
Wow.
So yeah, money's coming in on Texas already.
People are.
They're like me. They don't believe in Bama this year. I don't. Them being the number 2, in that title favorite.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. I mean, I'd almost think Michigan should be number 2, to be honest.
I agree. Michigan's earned it. Michigan's earned it, unfortunately.
They
But
have.
fuck them. So whatever.
It should be Georgia 1, them 2, and then a coin flip between us and Bama for 3.
I'll take us. So, real quick, right before we end here, like we always do. We win a national title this year, Casey?
God. I say we will every single year, and we haven't in 9 years.
Why not then? Here first. Casey Dyer's putting the mortgage on the Buckeyes at plus 650 to win the national championship.
JT Sawyer are going to be the difference makers.
Your lips to God's ear, buddy. All right. Well, that'll do it for this podcast. We'll be having a lot more coming up, though. So we're going to put up some TV, Desert Island stuff finally. We're going to put up another movie Hall of Fame, year 2 induction. And we're going to do a little 2015 quarterback reminiscence in honor of this quarterback battle this year. It's not really the same. But I think it's one of the most interesting things that's happened at Ohio State in the last 25 years is that battle that really decided that in the end that we weren't going to win the national championship and go back to back. But it's worth talking about because it's crazy to watch a coach as good as Urban Meyer be wrong about something, and I think it's worth looking back at. But thanks for coming by. For the Dyerwolf, I'm just Matt. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey guys! Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
A rich man's world.